Happy blue moon, full moon to you. Is there anything happening in your world that feels like it's a once in a blue moon experience today? My husband's going to be coming home from Emerge in about an hour, and I'm dying to know if he has really interesting things to say too, because I'm sure he will. Whether it really feels like one of those days, like a full moon experience or not, I'd love to hear how you're doing today. Am I catching you right now during dinner? Are you making dinner? Are you putting kids to bed? I'll be making dinner pretty soon after I finish chatting here. Do you know I just recorded this live and it died? So I'm gonna do it again. But I would love to tell you again from yesterday. I had a chat about the 5 things I wish I'd known if I could do this homeschool thing again, if I could do this mothering thing again. 5 things that I would do differently. And today I'm going to share 3 more things that I know I would do differently. And having said that, I had this great conversation with a homeschool mom yesterday. I shared with her something that I said, I don't think I would have wanted to hear this back in the day. That I wasn't going to do it perfectly, that I wasn't going to figure it all out. I really didn't want to hear that because I was on a mission to make it perfect, to capture the charmed life. And I, ironically and not ironically, had this little quote on my fridge for years, and I've had it pinned to a little bulletin board back here also for years. And it has reminded me the entire time that there is no way to be a perfect mother and a million ways to be a good one. So thank you for that. Jill Churchill, I guess, has quoted to been saying that, and those words have been reminding me of that truth the entire time, except I don't think I would have wanted to hear it because I was looking to do things perfectly. Now I'm nearing the end of my at-home mothering journey, and I can see it's not going to happen. And now that I'm coaching other homeschool moms or other women that are mothers, I can see also not happening because it's not a thing. It was never going to be a thing. It was never the reason we were parenting or mothering in the first place. There isn't a product in our child. There isn't something we're supposed to do to make the child be something that they should be, but we are there to be their guide, facilitate the things for them, do all the things, of course, but we're also there to grow right alongside them, because our entire life is actually a growth trajectory. It's not about us creating things perfectly. So if I had known that, my expectations of myself would have been very different. Of course, I would still love to say that I could go back in time and learn the things or use the things that I've learned now. I wish I could. I cannot do that for my own world, but I can do that, offer that for you. And if you're interested, I have 3 more things that I would share today. The things that I wish I could have done differently as a homeschool mom. So today I'd share that I wish I could hyper warp everything that I'd learned about myself. I wish I could go back in time and actually show up as the person I am right now. I would be so much more confident in doing pretty much everything, but parenting, mothering, knowing how to do it, knowing how to honor the child in front of me, and also knowing how to address them when they weren't at their shining moments, and to do it in a way that serves them or would have served them. I wish I had spent more time with myself and allowed myself to be fully present, but I was afraid for various reasons. I was uncomfortable with the idea of it, so I wasn't really me back then. And I have learned that that's a common conversation I have with women. Don't have to be a homeschool mom. Don't even have to be a mom. It's a thing. We tend to hide because we've been taught in some form to be afraid of being the authentic us, that we should align with what other people think. And so we tend to say, you know what? It's risky putting myself out there, so I'm not going to do it. And I wish I had spent more time with myself and allowed myself to be who I was, which also helps me to clarify my external boundaries, who I'm not. And I wouldn't have to be worried about who I wasn't. I could just be who I was. And I would learn to nurture me. And you know what happens when you nurture yourself? You nurture the people around you. You instinctively do it. And you also instinctively teach them how to nurture themselves. And I think all of those things would have nurtured a healthier family dynamic as well. And even when some of the kids were challenging, especially challenging for me. I wish I could also say that I would be able to I wish I had found someone to teach me strategies in how to address my emotions, to know how to emotionally regulate, as everyone is saying now. Sometimes I refer to it as dealing with your big emotions. I know that often we're told how to engage our kids' big emotions, and yet I have this firm belief that that's a great idea, of course. However, many of us are not actually taught how to address our own emotions. So I know if I don't know how to deal with mine, I am not going to know how to deal with my child's. And that is categorically true in every scenario. I have seen it myself. I have seen it with other people. But when I learn how to nurture my big emotions or learn how to emotionally regulate, then I'm able to just naturally do it with others. And I haven't always known, and I haven't always naturally taught it. I'm like the masses. I didn't get taught when I was young. Very few people were, so I've learned. And I can see the value of it now. And it's still a practice for me, and I'm honored to walk alongside other people to do that as well. So things for me like stress, understanding what my triggers are around stress, or what's compelling frustration or overwhelm. It's all different for different people, but once we begin practicing self-awareness strategies, whether that's journaling or staring into a mirror and talking to ourselves, or, a coach, having conversations with someone that knows how to reflect back what someone else is thinking, and many other strategies. When we learn how to do self-awareness, that's when we can begin to emotionally regulate. And it's not in the heated moment. One of the biggest benefits of learning emotional regulation for me was, or one of the biggest tools in the early days, was learning to practice the pause. Practice the pause. There's beautiful words. Learning how to not respond immediately, but actually either walking away if I'm too heated and literally just spinning on my heels and walking away, so I'm not saying or doing something that's too intense, or sometimes just creating a distance between, this thing that happened between, two kids, say, you don't have to respond right now. I get the instinct, unless they're running in front of a car. Okay, you have to respond right now, or they're setting something on fire. But you don't actually have to respond just because they're fighting again. Because guess what? They fought 652 times over their lifetime. They're probably going to fight some more. You're going to continue to explain how to engage each other in a relationship in a respectful, kind, thoughtful, or, listening way. And they're probably going to have more opportunities. You don't have to respond right now if you're feeling heated or you fill in the blank. So learning how to practice the pause was a really big tool that I began with and continue to share with other homeschool moms. But there are many emotional regulation strategies that I've learned and that I engage with other homeschool moms. So it's not just about stress, frustration, and overwhelm. There's also tendencies toward perfectionism that I engage in the homeschool community a lot. There's this feeling of I'm not good enough, or I feel like I've got these unrealistic expectations that I need to adhere to. Not even sure exactly where they're coming from, but I know they're coming from inside of me, and I'm not doing it well enough. And both of those things, I think, are coming from this place of not quite feeling worthy or valuable somehow in your imperfectly perfect space or state. And we're going to have conversation around that concept as well. It's a very common conversation. The more often that I have these conversations with moms, which are like all throughout my days, whether it's in DMs or coaching conversations directly, you are not alone if you are having this experience of emotional dysregulation. Like, you are of the masses, not alone. To be skilled at emotional regulation is unusual. So I hope that makes you feel good. The eighth element that we're also going to be discussing in the Reimagine Your Homeschool group coaching program next week, which is also one of the things I wish that I had known way back in the day, is to embrace the very important mothering concept, which I began this conversation with, is that there really isn't one right way to mother perfectly. You won't find it. You don't have to worry about what other people think it is. I mean, you probably will at times, but at the end of the day, you'll discover, probably like I did, there is no perfect way. There is growth. There is a perfect way in that signing up for growth, agreeing to grow is a necessity, but doing it perfectly is not a thing. So I'm going to accept for me that my goal of mothering is not to create a perfect product in one of my kids, but rather to grow right alongside them with their help. Sometimes I'm willingly accepting that help, and other days it feels a lot when I'm having to accept that they're things that they're doing at times that may be triggering me are actually useful tools for me to ask myself, why is it triggering me? What is going on in here? They're actually useful tools towards our growth. And actually learning that imperfection is everybody's experience, be encouraged. I hope that boosts your confidence. Imperfection is everyone's experience. Not having everything figured out is everyone's experience. So it actually allows us to be more confident in our homeschool and our life choices. So yeah, those are the things that I wish that I had done differently. I'm sure if I spent more time, I could actually come up with a few more. But the things that I have shared with you over the course of yesterday's live and today's live are some of the elements that I have included in my Reimagine Your Homeschool Life group coaching program that's starting next Thursday, September 7th. Cannot believe I'm saying September. Maybe it's September 2021. It feels like it's definitely time warped a couple years. But next Thursday, September 7th, is when we'll begin the Reimagine Your Homeschool group coaching program. And I'm going to share my insights. I'm going to share some of my experiences as I've mothered for the past couple of decades and homeschooled for about a decade and a half. And I'm going to help you, or I'm going to help guide you through these transformative elements. Here are the elements that I have created. They are element 1, finding purpose amidst your challenges. Element 2 is embracing your frustration and overwhelm and recognizing and honoring them as opportunities to move you to growth. The third element is to define your educational intentions or your end goals in your homeschool, because aligning your beliefs and your aspirations with your practical day-to-day experience will actually probably delete a bunch of activities that you don't need to do and also help you feel more satisfied with the ones you've chosen to do. Element 4 is to unpack unhelpful mindsets and expectations, aka deschooling. It's going to be a good discussion on deschooling and helping to create space, because this is what happens when you deschool. In my experience, you actually spend less time on the things that don't matter and you spend more time on the things that do. And you become very, almost like you yourself as a mom go down deep dives, your own rabbit holes. And it is not just interests, but you're very clearly aware that certain approaches work in your family, work with certain kids, certain approaches, whether that's home education or how you engage a child with their, solitude or how much time they want with friends. But deschooling helps you to get really clear on what each person needs. And it's just compelling you to be more present with them and enjoying the homeschool life with them. Also, element 5 is going to be streamlining your daily homeschool routine. So that could be your actual homeschool activities if you're not fully unschooled, but even unschooled, you have a variety of things that you tell yourself, these are things that I want to do with my kids. And then there's also morning routines and self-care routines. We're going to talk about time blocking your life, which in an essence means deciding on the things that are important, learning how much time they take, and some of those things are called sleep. And some of those things are called leisure, and sometimes it's, physical activity, all sorts of different things. But we're going to time block your life, get clear on what it is that you want to spend your homeschool life doing. Element 6 is about achieving long-term success in your family. But I don't think that, that success word is an issue for me all the time. I know what it feels like, and that's what I'm trying to capture in this element, is to determine this is how I want you to feel in it. However, it's not ever happening perfectly, 100%. But the goal is to actually look at your family dynamics in this element and ask ourselves, what can we do to hone things so we can communicate better, so we can resolve conflict better, so you can be nurturing your internal self and be able to really show up authentically with your family members, but not be overwhelmed or overstimulated. Some of the things that inform how I life coach are a crossover to therapy. Yesterday I was having a conversation with one mom, and I joked kind of that many people do say, oh, you feel like a therapist. I'm not, but can you unschool therapy? Because I've done enough of it, and I have definitely done dramatic deep dives of many topics that are also ones you learn in therapy school or in that realm. So here's what informs me is trauma-based therapy, nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg, self-compassion strategies. Christian Neff was the originator of self-compassion strategies. Gordon Neufeld's thoughts on attachment theory. Self-differentiation is something that I learned. Internal family systems was a really significant shift into learning self-nurturing strategies. If you've coached with me ever, you'll know that I speak like this. What is the younger person inside of you needing? The younger child, that is your name. And what does the nurturing mother also want to say to that younger child? We have an internal family. We have a few parts of us that need to be nurtured, and some of them put a lot of effort into defending ourselves or to managing our world. And those managers and those protectors have their place inside of us, but sometimes they overwork. And we need to allow the nurturing mother to step in and take the lead. So internal family systems is a big one. Obviously, active listening, conflict resolution, communication skills, and family systems as well. Some of these things are the reason that I have, this is my approach in my life coaching. Those are therapy-based concepts that I have incorporated in my own life and also in my life coaching. So element 7 is about navigating emotional challenges. You're going to have a couple of them when you homeschool. And, handling the big emotions. So with self-compassion strategies, practices that are practical, self-awareness strategies that help you feel seen. I think oftentimes the reason why we get overwhelmed or stressed or angry or depressed is that we aren't feeling seen. Not just by the other people that are around us, the important people around us, but by ourselves. We actually aren't allowing ourselves to fully be with that younger part of us and to honor and see that part of us. So I'm going to help you navigate your emotional challenges. And then element 8, embracing imperfection and confidence. Back to this, because when we embrace imperfection, when we say, I'm going to just live this imperfectly perfect homeschool life, it really is going to be imperfect, and yet it's so beautiful. Has so many benefits, and really just in memories alone and soundtracks, like actually literal soundtracks. So many Spotify soundtracks that I associate with different read-alouds because we played in the background, or different books and different time periods. Even when I think of historical time periods, I think of, do you remember when we were reading the Usborne Time Traveler book and we were learning about ancient Greece? That was a certain phase of my family's journey. Or when we read certain books when we were in New York City or around the world, we did a lot of traveling. They became like soundtracks. So sometimes the memories, the power of the auditory power of memory, sometimes smell, and all the memories that we have. That right there is the reason we want to homeschool. That right there is the reason we want to reimagine our homeschools. If we're not feeling like we're hitting the sweet spot, do I think you're going to hit the sweet spot indefinitely? Nope. Is it possible? Nope. But can you make it a whole lot better? You really can. And these are the things, the elements that really have helped move me into just a deeper sense of presence and satisfaction, being at peace with what is. So if you're interested, let me know. You can schedule an appointment to chat with me about it, or I can send you some information about it. It's going to be an 8-session group coaching program. They're going to be small groups because I want to do deep dives, real life coaching with different people. So it could be up to 5 people, maybe 6, but I prefer 2, to be honest. It's sometimes definitely challenging to coordinate time zones. But when we are in a group coaching scenario like that, sometimes there's a little bit of training and things that we can learn. But as a life coach, my tendency is to invite authentic, open conversation about the real things that are mattering in our lives and in our homeschool families. So if you sign up, by the way, before Saturday, you have access to complimentary 2 months of the Homeschool Mama Book Club and 2 months of the Homeschool Mama Patreon support group. So if this is interesting to you, or you'd like to go deeper in any of those things, connect with me. All you have to do is say reimagine in the comment section down below, and I'll connect with you, either give you a booking link to have a conversation with me, or I can give you a little bit more information about what we're going to do. I do truly hope that this year you can reimagine your homeschool and allow it and embrace it in a way that feels like this is the way I want to feel. This is the way I want to experience it. And I hope it's a great day. I would love to hear if you've had one of those blue moon or once in a blue moon moments today. I think it's pretty cool. I'll be up late. Hopefully it's not overcast. I'll talk to you soon.